Alright, my G's. Serum 2. Let's talk about it. A bit more sound design today. And I've made a nice and easy lead stab for you guys. Definitely works in drum and bass. It would also work in other genres as well. I'm going to play it alongside the Serum drums that I made recently. Because I still quite like them actually. So all of these sounds are from Serum that you're going to hear in this loop. Here you go. And if you just remember the drums, we'll mute them for the moment while we do the sound design on the lead. And essentially I can then turn off the side chaining because I put a little bit of multi-band compression on the kick and snare. To let the kick and snare cut through a little bit more through the lead. But yes, a few tips in Serum then. You know what? I could have made that perhaps smoother actually. Let me replay that loop for you, and I'm going to make the lead, the attack of the lead a bit smoother because that's one of the topics I wanted to cover. I really like this smooth knob here because you can kind of see how it changes the shape of the LFO. So if I make the lead smoother like that, it actually cuts through. It lets the drums cut through even better. Because basically, the transient is less loud, is not as loud, so the transient of the kick and snare comes through a bit nicer. So tip number one, the smooth knob is excellent. Once you've drawn your LFOs, smoothing some of them out, if you want to, can be great. So yeah, definitely worth trying. But anyway, this lead sound then, let's crack into the sound design. Right, so let's begin with the sound design then. So we've got Oscillator A at -2, and this is like a folded triangle. So it's kind of like a triangle, but leaning more towards becoming a saw wave, right? And it's got a low pass filter on it, this one, and so is the next one here. And so the main movement from the stab, it's a simple saw down curved shape for the LFO, and basically that whole stabbing motion is coming in from me modulating the low pass filter on both of the oscillators. So yeah, nice that you can do that in the oscillator section here. So there you go, a nice low pass filter movement. So this one, like I said, folded triangle with a unison of 3. And then our second oscillator is just a normal triangle, but actually 3 octaves higher at +1. And same thing we've done with the low pass filter, yeah? So from 0 to 100 being modulated there. Alright, so there's a few more things here. The unison of this one is on 1, so it's actually the low one that's got the width. And then also, we've got some phase distortion FM from both, so actually a bit of B going into A and a bit of A going into B. And I just like the way it adds some extra subtle harmonics into the sound. It sounds good, you know. Next, what I've also done is I've modulated the pitch. So LFO 2, here we have a similar saw down curved but sharper, so it's a bit faster. And I've tracked this to the semitones here and gone up about 33%. And if I go to the matrix here, you can see exactly, so you get this pitch drop. Okay, so it's not so extreme, just 33%. But when you put the modulator on onto that, initially it goes both ways. So you can change it here because basically before it was kind of like going from higher to even lower than the root note, you know. But like with the polarity here, you can change it in the matrix section nice and easily there. So it just goes high and then back to center. So yeah, if you ever need to change that sort of polarity. It's a good way to do it here in the matrix, so you can see everything nice and clearly. Then that's basically the sound for the main mid-range. Then I put a sub bass in underneath it all as well, and this is where the routing is going to get interesting in just a second. Because what I wanted to do was I wanted to add like a lot of stereo effects to oscillator A and B, but not on the sub bass. So I've set the output of the sub bass to the main, but I've set the output of oscillator A and B. If you go over to the mix here, I've set the output to none, so they don't go anywhere. And then I've turned up bus 1 on both of them. So oscillator A and B are both going into bus 1, which is over here in the FX section, bus 1 here. And then the output of bus 1 will go into the main, and then in the main they'll rejoin with the sub. So they go through some processing on their own without the sub bass before they get re-added with the sub bass afterwards, you know? So that means I can go crazy on the stereo effects and keep the sub nice and pure still. And yeah, one more thing then in this section, I didn't use any filters, but I have added in some noise, which makes a massive difference. And so what I did for this noise was I firstly put a fast pan on it, so it has like a tremolo stuttery effect. So basically the panning, you can hear how fast it is here. It's just a triangle LFO, like off the grid, turned up really, really fast, so it goes brr, 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 brr. So it's really like fast and stuttery, you know. And then rather than having it just constant noise like that, I've modulated the level of the noise on the main LFO, so same as what the low pass filters are doing on the first two oscillators. So it's like a noise hit. So it's a noise hit with fast movement on it. So it's really cool because it adds such a nice amount of character, and it's the ARP circuit. There's quite a few ones that sounded good, but this one was like just right for me. For example, the pink one could be good, it's a little bit brighter, but this one was just subtle enough that you still heard the nice high part of the lead coming through, and I felt like the noise is like a little bit behind it, which was nice. But yeah, that's the basis for the sound, and now we can just do the processing on the effects in the bus. So firstly the bus, like just doing the yes, essentially, I'm not sure if I put the noise through it. I might have done. Yeah, also, that's right. I put the noise into the bus, so that gets also the stereo effects. And I controlled the level here as well. So the amount of noise that I'm pushing through the bus. About 68%. So just finding that balance where it sort of blends with the lead and everything like that. But yeah, the bus. So Convolver first. My favourite convolution preset, the digital gated on the shorts folder. It sounded great on that one. Okay, and you still hear the sub underneath everything. I could turn it off if I want to for now. So we just hear what we're doing in the on the oscillators A and B. Touch of delay, ping pong, off the grid, left and right, slightly different. Just mixed in a bit. Chorus next, wonderful, about 20%. And then finally, a bit of distortion with the low-high splitter. And again, I love this one. I've used the Diode 2. This gets really loud and aggressive now. And this really boosted the transient a lot, this distortion, because it put that grit, especially on top of the noise, and it kind of went, nah, nah. It got you that loud transient, you know? So here is where I've sort of ended up softening the LFO now. Because I like that loudness from the distortion, but I just don't need the transient to be as loud, you know? So just softening that with the smooth here, softening the whole sound. It's a nice balance, a touch of reverb on the end. Yeah, just a few percent. You don't hear it so much, but it's filling out some of the background space. And then, yeah, let's switch our sub back on. And then, yeah, now the sub and the affected oscillator A and B, they all go back into the main here. And I thought, let's glue them together a bit. And I'm not a fan of using compression unless I absolutely have to, but I want to keep the sound nice and dynamic, so that's why I try not to use any compression. So I've just tried to use other effects to glue everything together. So a little kind of notch filter. So it's only sort of around 117 hertz. It's quite low, but it's not really. It's a tiny notch, and I'm actually boosting everything else up with the drive here. So I'm kind of like boosting everything together. I'm basically using the filter just to drive stuff up and put a tiny bit of shaping into it. Yeah, let's turn that on first. That'll help. And mixing in how much of it. So it's very subtle here. Then the low-high splitter. All right, and yeah, this is I've put the crossover quite low actually, sort of around 350, but it definitely keeps the sub out of that danger zone when I'm distorting things. And yeah, the rectify mode this time, and it's mixed in just a little bit though. It's a very small amount of signal from the distortion, but it does like glue stuff together, and it adds a bit of extra push, 3 or 4% of extra push, and a little bit of push for the high end as well, just boosting the highs around a dB or so. Little kind of high shelf, you know. But yeah, that's basically all the effects then. So you had the effects of the oscillator A and B together, and then you had them again affected with the sub bass, but using only a couple of effects that don't actually change the sub bass because they don't really affect the low end, those ones, you know. And then yeah, smoothing it out here, fitting it back in with our beat so it's nice and tight. Let's put our sidechains back on. There's also another version of the sound if I really go hard on this rectify mode here. Could be something great to tweak on a macro because it kind of just changes the sound, makes it a bit more aggressive in some ways. But yeah, I kind of prefer the vibe of the first one. Yeah, it's sort of a classic DNB kind of stab, in my opinion. Very versatile and great to use in different genres. And that's my Serum 2 video wrapped up for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for all your support on the channel. Make sure you like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below what you want to see next. May I remind you as well, if you want any production lessons, you can book in via the links down below to my calendar. If you need mixing and mastering work, you can also email me about that, info@arteffectmusic.com, also down below. And if you want preset packs, I've got some, loads of presets for Vital and Phase Plant. And coming up, we'll have some presets for Serum 2 as well. So check out those on my website. And finally, as well, come along and join my Patreon as well. We've got a great Discord community on there. All right, that's it for me today. More from me very soon. Ciao, ciao. Much love.